Morning, everybody. Jason Jeffries here, Master Jace for the Alliance Project, Rebel Alliance. I'm sharing an astronomy video with you guys this morning. It's like 4:30, can't sleep. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share this new discovery into our solar system. News release was about 3 days old. Maybe a little more, but they have no idea what it is, and it's diving at our sun, and it's going to influx, go back up, and shoot back out. And they think it's actually a visitor from another solar system. Making sense that we have adding to the fact that we probably, most likely, 90% or more have a binary star in our solar system, because everything happens in twos. The law of polarity, right? Everything has to have two. Every star created has to dance around another star, and most of the time they pull each other in, but they believe that you have to actually have two stars to even begin the fission process and create light from the star. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Here's Maya. Bear just jumped off. And here we go. Let me share my screen here. It was first seen just a month ago. Tiny blip of light was seen to be moving through the sky by Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii. The number crunch that followed was automatic. The results were unusual. It says this object was in an odd position. It's moving very fast. It appears to be somewhat extreme orbit. Extreme, though not actually to be in orbit, in fact. Observations published by the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planet Center, MPC, suggests it could have came from deep space. Specifically, it could be a comet that has escaped from another star. Further observations confirm the unusual nature of the orbit. This object may be the first clear case of an interstellar comet. If you'd like to look it up, look up C/2017 U1. Further observations of the object are very much desired, unless there are serious problems with much of the astrometry listed below. Strongly hyperbolic orbits are only viable solutions, although it is probable not too sensible to compute meaningful, original, and future baryocentric orbits. Given the very short arc of observations, the orbit below has E squiggly line 1-2 for both values. If further observations confirm the unusual nature of the orbit, this object may be the first clear case of an interstellar comet. Pan-STARRS telescope spotted the object only after it was flung back towards the stars by our sun. It was not likely ever to return. It flashed past Earth at 24 million kilometers on October 14th. So what's that? That's like the speed of it's probably really, really fast, like 10 miles per second or something. Maybe even more, who knows. But I know that it's very fast when I was reading the paperwork here. Most objects orbit, many eyes watched it closely, keen to determine exactly what it was. The curiosity peaked when where it had come from. Most objects orbiting our sun do so along a plane. The planets, dwarf planets, and asteroids mostly swing around roughly the same way. This one appears to have come down from 122 degrees from the direction of the star Vega in the constellation Lyra, and its path did not indicate the curved ellipse typical of clockwork-like returning comets. Best guesstimates make a comet at about 160 meters in diameter with a surface reflectivity of about 10%. It's a wanderer. The objects have just been through a close call in the solar system terms. It came within 38 million kilometers of the star before its momentum and the sun's gravity hurled it back outward. Normally, such a close pass would be fatal. It was traveling too fast for the sun's heat to consume it. It was moving at 26 kilometers per second. So yeah, roughly about 10 miles per second. Astronomers are now attempting to refine their observations and the data to pinpoint exactly where it came from. If it is truly of interstellar origin, the next test is to find out which star it is likely to come from. At the moment, it appears to be somewhere in the direction of the star Vega. Here's what the orbit looks like. Let me try to maximize this if I can. Don't know if I can. It's just a GIF. See this thing that's diving down? Watch from up here. Bam! It's almost like a probe, right? Like something was sent here to take a quick peek, get some data, and get sent back. Makes sense to me if it was something like that. Almost like a precursor to events that are to come. It also looks like it's wandering alone in deep space for a very, very long time. Vega is a relatively close neighbor of our sun, 25 light years in distance, and its speed is traveling. It would take 1.7 million years to cross the interstellar divide. The story originally appeared here, but we're going to go ahead and watch this video first.
They put their shoulders to it, broad backs and hard will, squaring off against whatever comes next.
I wonder if that's... I have no idea.
They defied the law of gravity and went faster and farther than any one of them had ever imagined. They learned what it takes to power a dream. Someone before them had discovered America, but they discovered what it means to be an American. And the thing about discovery, it has a beginning, but no end. The next era belongs to those who discover again what it means to be an American. Those who have the resourcefulness, the ingenuity, and the grit to ensure the next energy to power our dreams will be American energy. This is our era. This is America's energy era. Next era energy.
And could there be more planets in our solar system, Martha? Some scientists now say yes. British and Spanish astronomers say that there may be at least 2 more planets hiding behind Pluto, which still doesn't count as a planet, by the way. Ripped off. Mike Massimino is a former NASA astronaut, professor of engineering at Columbia University. How are you, sir? What's it matter?
Well, if this would be a major discovery, if we can find that if there actually are more planets in our solar system, it would be a major find. Would it affect our daily life? Maybe not so much, but certainly we have to rewrite a few of the astronomy books.
I got you. So I always thought there were 9 planets.
That's what we learned. That's what we learned when we were kids.
I'm wrong. Now, what's the deal?
When we were kids, it was 9. Then there was a controversy a few years ago. They said, no, there's only 8, and now there may be some more out there. So it just goes to show you, we keep finding more and more stuff.
And Pluto's not living up. Now, listen, how do they go about determining there's another planet out there? How do we find that? How do we locate it?
This is what I find to be most interesting. You know, as an astronaut, I got to work on Hubble, but I was like the repairman. I don't look through the telescope, but we talk to these astronomers how they use a device like the Hubble Space Telescope, or how these guys made their discovery. They look for evidence. They find things and they don't know why they're seeing this evidence. So what they found, there's a bunch of rocks out beyond Pluto, way out there in our solar system, that were being disturbed more or less by gravity. Their pattern was not as it normal.
What he's trying to say in layman's terms is we got some objects out there, a bunch of asteroids, meteors, things like that, which we know are precursors to the system that we've been studying, this Nibiru system, this ancient Sumerian system. And they're grouped together around another object. There's a center of gravity. Because it's so dark out there, they can't really see things. And from what you read in the Sumerian text, it says that, it's an etherical object almost anyways, like extra dimensional. It's always shown and drawn as 12-pointed star, or a radiant star with 12 points. Venus always had 8, and our sun always had 6, the Star of David. So if you just understand that it's like having a gravity sandbox, and you have a bunch of objects in there, rocks and things, and you start to see things bunched together and travel together. So they're starting to see, and I've released paperwork on this on earlier shows, that these Kuiper Belt objects and extreme Neptunian objects are grouping together in a specific pattern that is like 99.9% sure that it was not chance, that it was actually a large body, many times the size of the Earth out there, pulling them together.
Normally would be naturally occur if they were just those objects floating around. So they see something else pulling on them and disturbing the orbit, and they don't know what that is. So the theory that they have is that there's more planets, really big ones, way far away.
So it's based on, it's possible they have not even seen these planets.
Yeah, I don't think they have. In fact, the only evidence that I'm aware of that I've read about here is that it's a gravitational attraction, and the only way, one of the ways that they would explain this is to say that there's other planets out there. It's if you with the Hubble Space Telescope, dark energy and dark matter, and this is at the Intrepid Museum now. They have the Hubble 25 exhibiting. You see some of the stuff. They talk about things like gravitational lensing. They can, which means they can look on a lens. There's a picture of this in the museum where you can see the bending of light, and so the light can actually bend, and they can measure the bending of light. And they would say, well, what matter is around here that's causing that bend in the light? And then they say, well, there's got to be so much matter, but they can only recognize a portion of the matter. That's why they come up with dark matter. So there's more stuff out there than we can account for.
And the idea of dark matter and dark energy actually shows the curves of galaxies. When you look at the curve of spiral galaxies and things like that, like the one we live in, they can only account for about 5% of the matter. 5% of the gravity is caused by luminous matter, meaning matter that interacts with the electromagnetic light spectrum. The other 95% of the gravity is caused by things that do not interact with the electromagnetic light spectrum, so they call it dark matter, dark energy. And if you just study the Sumerian texts, it's very possible to have probably large objects that are created, or possibly even planets that are created like this. Maybe they're just like just out of the quantum state that is our reality, if you will, that we can see them in, but they still interact with ours. It's not theoretical, because our galaxy would not be held together. It would fly apart without this. There would be no spiral, there'd be no curves to our galaxy, and there'd be no formation. So they say it surrounds the galaxy, the universe, and if you start looking at the math, it's like 8.4% of the universe that we know is luminous matter that does interact with the electromagnetic light spectrum. There's like 25% dark matter, and then like 75% dark energy. Those are rough estimates. Like I said, those obviously don't add up to 100, but it's like 8.4, 23, and then like the remainder is what they call dark energy.
Or the possibility that it's emitting light, right? Or it's sending light back, and that's how you would locate it.
Right. So
it would reflect the light of the sun.
Yeah, but they don't know what this stuff is, so they call it dark matter, for example. In this case, what their hunch is that it's a planet that's out there that's causing this gravitational.
Are you going to be okay with this?
Yeah, I think this is cool. I think what it shows you is, you think you know something and you don't. We really don't know what's going on. dark matter, dark energy, we only can recognize like 10% of the energy in the universe, 10% of them. We don't know what the heck is going on out there.
Now,
Very exciting stuff.
And quickly, when you were growing up, you memorized the planets and your way. And what was that again? That
was my very educated mother just served us 9 pizza pies.
She did.
And each one of those words that gives you, you start with Mercury, Venus, or right there. We're going to have to update that. We got to come up with names, too. I don't know what they're going to do. So
to make more pizza.
Something. All right. So
Thank you,
thanks
Mike.
for having me.
See you soon.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, there you have it.
Eras. They're defined by accomplishments.
I don't think we have to name anything if it's already been named. But, this looks cool. Stargazers find 20 new Earth-like planets that could host life in the Goldilocks zone. Yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. How this could be a precursor of events to come. It almost seems like the same way we would send a probe to another solar system or around, in the vacuum of space, I guess thrusters and things like that really don't account for much because there's nothing to push off of, right? So when you break atmosphere and things like that, whatever speed you're kind of going at would be the one you're traveling at, unless you had something like an ion thruster or a warp drive, something that's actually bending and curving the space-time continuum around you to create what you'd look at as like a hill. I guess I could kind of give you a little demonstration here. So you'd have like space and time, things like that. And you'd have to look at it as like a 4-dimensional cube or rectangle. Time would just be the slides, the difference between one moment and the next, the thing that separates, things from being on top of each other and gives existence to just everything that we perceive. So in our 3-dimensional bodies, we would only picture time as being linear and traveling one way. But to something on a higher dimension, it would see us in our baby form and all the way up to, from our embryo to our deathbed, And I've shared a video on this, kind of like, it'd be, it gets deep. And if you guys want to look back at that video, you can. But I think it was are we living in a simulated reality or a collective consciousness? So, because quantum mechanics only comes to 2 complete theories that could happen. I mean, this is the theory of relativity, string theory, and quantum mechanics. They only come to 2 actual valid ways to view the answers to all the questions, the theory of everything. And one would be there's a collective consciousness, and the other would be we're living in a simulation, which means that the simulation's coming from a simulation, coming from a simulation, coming from a simulation. And it gets pretty far out there thinking about it that way. So the obvious answer is we live in a collective consciousness has like a reverse causality loop. Our future self is just as much affecting the present you as just as much as the past you is affecting the present you in the way that we look at it. You don't have to read things left or right. There'd be no reason to look at it that way. It's like every slide in a movie exists at one time, you carry the movie. So for time to exist, all time exists all the time. Wow, right? But the only way, like I was saying, is if you're traveling through space, is if you could create something like this. You know, oh, let me do this. And have it move around at a speed that's greater, you'd have to either use the gravity that exists or some kind of ion thrusters or warp drive, right? So the warp drive would be a way to warp space and time to create a continuous hill that kind of lets the matter roll down this hill and gain speed, right? So it would actually have to curve space and time, the actual space-time continuum. It would have to warp it. And if you warp it enough, you would have point A and point B, right? Let's see if we can undo some things. You'd have point A and point B. And that the distance between those 2 points are set, right? But if you were to warp that with a warp drive, you could make that connect, right? You could have point A meet point B. So picture this line I'm drawing. We'll just say this is the line that is original, point A, point B, and then picture that curving until point A and point B are right beside each other, right? So that would be one way to travel faster, but the other way would just to be using the gravitational pull of a star or planet. So you have these objects out here, it's causing its own gravity, and then you send something around it, it would slingshot it back out. Same way we use satellites and probes that we send out. This thing could have very well been a probe, you know, came in so fast and they had such short time to observe it. They never said much about it till it was gone. And there you go, right? It was almost like they didn't want people, you know, amateur astronomers looking at it, or people that could, people picking up signals or anything like that. They wanted to make sure that this thing was not artificial, right? Or for us to have no proof that it was artificial. It just seemed too perfect to me. It seemed almost that if it was coming from a binary star, it would be coming from, I guess you could say, the north of our solar system, meaning our binary is above us this time of year, meaning we'd be the bottom star in October. I don't give much credentials to the, you know, or validity to a lot of the people that just keep thinking that, you know, it's hiding behind our sun constantly, you know what I mean? The only way that that could be is if it was not going through the same fission process. And only at certain times a year would we be able to see it. But also, it would have to be very, very certain conditions, you know. And I don't want people to get conditioned into a point where they're just constantly looking at the skies and the stars and the sun and everything they see on like a webcam to become, you know, a harbinger of death or doom, it kind of would make people live in a fear-based construct and give them the powers that be more control. Um, but the idea is to keep your mind open. Realize that these ancient people knew way more than we did. Humble yourself and realize that nothing's set in stone, and we need to keep an open mind. Um, it's almost like the killer of the mind once we accept or think that we know everything. You know, the greatest. I think it was Plato or Socrates. One of these ancient Greeks said that the ultimate wisdom is understanding that you know nothing. That's very true. It still holds true today, and will always hold true in this plane of existence. We're in a learning process, and we need to understand that. Yeah, I just think I see people. One in particular that I had on my show when I was starting out very early. I've seen them become corrupted by this whole process, maybe by you know, the fame he was getting, or they were getting, we'll say, and they fell down a dark path of fear. I mean, one of these people actually told their wives. One of the people that they're talking to now told their wives, whatever you want to call it, wife, I would say, because I guess he's not married to more than one, but they were going to be living in a silo, and that asteroids were coming to destroy the Earth. And she was cancer ridden. She actually had cancer really bad. It was very sick. And then once he started getting his AdSense money and all these donations from these Christians, he left her high and dry, gone. Left his wife of how many years to fight cancer alone with no funds, no income, nothing. Just rolled out. Doesn't sound very Christian to me, not in any aspect of the word. I guess neither is judging, but that doesn't take a genius to figure out. But the point of this is a lot of these people that started out on an educational adventure with themselves ended up becoming corrupted by the ignorance of others, because people need leaders. People look up, and they need, they need to have some kind of guidance. Where we're a species that's in complete disarray, and we look to the stars, and we look to the people that have the ability to lead us. And once they get a little taste of that, some of them become corrupted, and they start putting out garbage and fake news. It's like, how can you honestly look at the science of something and say that something's, between like closer to the sun than we are, if it's massive and it's a sun in itself, and say that it's like there and it just stays there and doesn't move for like, so many years. But, like what they're saying, most of them is not plausible. But the idea of the possibility of what they're saying coming into light, or what they're getting wrong is the numbers. Like, people don't look at the numbers, something like that. If you look at Carlos Ferrada and things like that, there is some very valid points to this. And if you look at the guy from SLU Observatory that I actually emailed him, he was told that he had to become silenced about this But what he could tell me was that the elite have been spending money on underground bunkers. They are preparing for something that is coming into our solar system, and that we do have a binary sun, binary star. Like, but they're talking about something that can be seen through like telescopes and stuff, and it doesn't look like our star does in the sky. When they were trying to leak it out, it looked like a very dim brown, almost reddish light in the background. It had curvature to it. It looked like a star, but it was very close, but it didn't have the same, I guess, vision process, the same light interaction that our sun would have. And it was just, it was very eye-opening to me. But to realize these things, like, as a whole, you can't be following, false leaders and expect to get somewhere, because all they're doing is milking and milking and milking and milking these poor people that are living in a fear state. They're they're part of the problem. They're not joining the collective. They say they're being a part of this and that. The one in particular I was talking about that I was good friends with and talked to, he wouldn't even put ads on his shows. Wouldn't even put ads on there. And now he has a donation link on everything that he has. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but I'm saying he literally like pushes the donation thing down your fucking face. He can't find anything, and anything that he does find, whether it's like a street light shine through a tree at night, making it look like 1,000 meteors or comets and things like that, like it's all like fear porn and propaganda anymore. The very one thing that he set out to fight against. And now he's going on like the road with people, traveling around to this like convention, writing like storyboards for, to have something to say so people will give money so they can get, fat while the rest of us starve, kind of, so to speak. It's ridiculous to see somebody sell out their morals like that. And we've all fell down a dark road before. We've all, the brighter the light, the longer the shadow, right? Same thing that's going on with my hand right here. So you got to think of that too. There's always that aspect, but the ideas are maintaining balance with that, in making the conscious decision to become what you set out to be. A lot of the times the younger versions of ourselves are not like who we've become. I can say that the younger version of myself would have kicked my ass a couple times in the past, but hey, now I'm all right. I'm on the path that I believe I was supposed to be on, and I try to educate people. I don't try to feed them full of bullshit. I try to learn with them. I try to learn from them. By any means, I'm not perfect, but I try. I try to do better. Every kid on the way. It's due in February 20th, so I was thinking that I could probably quit smoking here for, like a New Year's resolution. New year, new me, whatever. Try to just quit smoking. It'd be one aspect, it'd be a good thing. And I know I have to do it. Yeah, if we could all just better ourselves, better each other, and get better, grow better together, instead of living in ignorance, They say ignorance is bliss, but I guess that's only if you live in a terrible time. I just I see like a lot of squandering and a lot of, waste with the potential that we could have. Maybe this person should just stick to politics instead of trying to jump on the fucking WSO money train and running around and just milking Christians, like whatever. It gets to the point where it gets frustrating when somebody that actually cares about something sees this kind of bullshit that they put out. Or they'll get like wait for a satellite that orbits Earth to go behind the Earth and go in front of the sun, cast a shadow, and then say, "Oh no, the end is near. We're all gonna die." When it's obviously just, a picture from behind the Earth looking at the sun. It's, like you can see the front of my hand, right? But if I turn it away from the light, it gets dark. Yeah, that's the idea. It's the light source. Yeah, the photograph. The photograph is not showing justice to what's going on because it's simple. You just got to think a little bit. Think for yourself, I'm not saying give everybody a hard time, question everything, that they put out there, comment on there a bunch of bullshit, but sometimes just, if you feel the need to say something, put it out there. Other times, just ignore it and keep going, and hopefully people and in their own epiphanies and moments of clarity that they'll have will realize this stuff, and I hope that people do realize that it seems that in today's day and age, we're looking for the end times. We're looking for the harbinger. We're looking for the thing that will end it all, right? But we shouldn't be so excited about that. Like, why is it that everybody is so happy about doom and the end of the world? Why wouldn't we be happy about change? Happy that we live in an age that is so technologically advanced from where we were just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to the point that we have limitless potential to change the world. Like, they're getting to the point where if you just have enough willpower, you could probably solve like the energy crisis and things like that just from sitting down, focusing on how things work, how electricity works, how ionization works, how the sun works, how lightning works. Just start getting these epiphanies because you start to go from a narrow viewpoint to a very broad viewpoint. And I think that we're focusing our energy on this doom thing way too much. So work on bettering yourself, work on learning more, crave for knowledge, stop craving for the end of the world and things like that. Maybe an end for the status quo, that'd be great, but that causes change. That means we need change. We need people step up and help change and be a positive influence and not be so negative. Like I said, the brighter the light, the longer the shadow. We all have a dark side. So just keep that stuff in mind. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy our little astronomy and philosophy talk. And yeah, hopefully I get some replies and comments and stuff because it's the reason I do this. I feel like an idiot if I just talk and talk and talk and then nobody gives any input. Oh, there's Bear. I thought he was gone. He was behind me the whole time. What the heck? Hey, he's famous, ain't he? There's at least like 50 people that know who you are. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed.